What's the Stitch, listeners?
Hey guys, it's Nim and Linz.
And in our podcast today, we are going to talk about both the positive and negative effects social media has on teenagers. An article written by CBS in 2008 shows that text messaging went up 450% in 2 years alone. And that was 8 years ago.
Nowadays, teens can't go anywhere without their phones or electronic devices, and social media has taken over their lives. PewInternet.org states that 90% of people aged 18 to 29 use social media.
And as technology increased over the years and more people began going online, new social networks arose. Sites like Friendster, Tinder, LinkedIn, and MySpace have changed social networking entirely.
Social networking has created opportunities for businesses, athletes, friends, and families that have never been available before. By simply looking up a person's name on Google, millions of results pop up, including social media accounts, pictures, and businesses.
However, these innovations in technology have also created many problems that can impact our future. Many have argued that social media and cell phone use has ruined social skills and is imprinting negative characteristics in teens.
Factual evidence.
Many statistical studies have been conducted as social networking has shot up in the past decade. From 2005 to 2015 alone, social media usage has increased by 78%.
An article written by Pew Research Center states that in 2015, 65% of adults use social media compared to the 7% in 2005. And in Bob Kellogg's article in 2014, Studies Smartphones Stunting Student Social Skills, he states that 75% of teens own cell phones.
In that same article, Kellogg mentions a study done by UCLA that observed the 11 to 12-year-olds' ability to recognize emotions in pictures or videos. The catch? Half of the group was taken to a nature camp with no electronics or technology, and the other half was allowed to keep their phones or other electronics.
As a result, the children who were without technology and spent time socializing with each other at the camp performed better at recognizing emotions.
In an interview with my own father, Dana Sampson, a retired police officer, he explained how he didn't have a phone until college. He also described that while technology has increased and improved, he is not a, quote, computer guy, and doesn't have any social media accounts besides Facebook, which my sister persuaded him to get only recently.
Sampson also stated that while he was skeptical to get a social media account at first, it has proven to be very useful for connecting with old friends and family. He also explains, quote, "I wish I had made an account sooner," end quote, and further mentioned that he has encouraged some of his own friends and colleagues to join in.
Positive aspects of social media.
Technology has brought many positive aspects to society. After reading an article by Hillary Stout called Antisocial Networking, Linz and I found that the use of technology and social media is a faster and way more efficient way of communicating with long-lost friends or family members. It allows people to connect with those that they may have not seen in years.
Inventions like FaceTime and Skype have taken place of writing letters or phone calls. It creates a more personal connection. It has allowed people to see each other face to face without being there physically. Technology is almost everywhere now. Observing people walking on the street or in a restaurant, a cell phone will most likely be in their hand.
As Jennifer Luden describes in her article, Teen Texting Soars, Will Social Media Suffer? Cell phones are very useful in urgent situations. For example, in serious situations, such as a car crash or a house fire, phones are available to contact 911 and family very quickly.
On a less serious note, phones are also very useful for everyday things, like asking a parent to pick you up, communicating with friends about meeting up, and even studying with another student.
Social media has created a wide variety of apps that are available for studying purposes and even helping with homework.
Educational apps, such as Quizlet, can help students study for school. Other apps and websites even include online tutors or videos to help explain historical time periods, science including biology and chemistry, and how to do math problems.
According to Allie Kingston's article, social media is a great place to advertise a business or even market items. Due to the amount of people that use social media and the internet, it is more likely that an advertisement will be seen via the internet than in a newspaper. In addition to advertising, social media is an easy way to get in touch with an employer or future employee.
And with innovations like Skype and FaceTime, a conference call can turn into a face-to-face conversation or presentation without the hassle of organizing a meeting in person.
Negative aspects of social media.
Despite all the great things social media has contributed to society, there are still negative aspects that people are generally worried about.
After reading an article by Hillary Stout called Antisocial Networking, Linz and I found that the use of technology and social media began to increase in 2007 when the first iPhone was released.
Stout describes young adults from the age of 8 to 18 spend around 7.5 hours on some sort of technology, and that teens these days are losing formal writing due to shorthand texting. In addition to this formal writing, shorthand is creating, quote, improper language, and teens have less proper communication skills.
In Catherine Binley's article, When Children Text All Day, she describes how phones have become a way out of awkward situations and conversations. In public places, teens immediately look to their phones to avoid interaction with the people around them. I know I definitely do.
Me too, I do it all the time.
Yeah. Anyways, teens are starting to have trouble initiating social interactions, especially small talk. Binley describes kids, quote, don't know how to handle conflict face to face, end quote. Basically saying that teenagers are avoiding conversation too much, that they are losing the ability to have a conversation with people they may not know.
Especially when it comes to job or really any type of job interview. This ability is extremely important. And Binley states clearly that teenagers will have a hard time in interviews because they aren't learning, quote, reciprocal conversation.
Also, going back to Kellogg and the UCLA study we talked about earlier that resulted in children without technology being able to recognize emotions better, this study relates to the problem of reciprocal conversation. Kellogg explains further in his article that when looking at a screen, you cannot learn nonverbal emotion cues, and it is decreasing the ability to understand them.
In addition, Kellogg brings in Dr. Benzio, who describes 5 major consequences of social media, including impatience in relationships, the interference with relationships acquisition and implementation, casual acquaintances but no time for deeper relationships, mistaking social media relationships for real ones, and using social media for breakups, apologies, forgiving, and explaining.
Our point of view.
As teenagers ourselves, it's common to be biased towards social media. For example, I understand that there are many negative consequences of technology, but I have personally experienced so many positives in how social media has allowed me to talk to friends I normally wouldn't have been able to stay in touch with.
I agree. Despite the fact that there are many cons, I think there are so many positive things you can do with social media. I have experienced both the negative and positive sides of social media, and even though the negative sides are more obvious and more likely to be talked about, I believe social media will become a great thing for our generation.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Even with the kids who abuse the openness and freedom of social media, I personally think there is enough positivity and posts and comments towards each other that balances it out. And even more importantly, I think it's great that colleges are starting to look at social media for acceptance and athletic purposes, because social media can be very transparent. And shout out to all the listeners that are athletes. If you are seeking out the college of your dreams, check all your posts and profiles, because inappropriate or negative posts have proven to turn away coaches.
And that's a wrap of our podcast today.
Hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for listening.
If you think we didn't cover some major issues in social media, comment on our page.
Thanks again for listening, and see you next week on Nim and Lens. We didn't need the time.
Listener,